everybody, and welcome to Vinyl Treasures. I'm your host, Johnny G, John Galindo, coming to you live each and every Saturday only here on Top Shelf Oldies. Want to welcome you to the April 21st, 2018 Vinyl Treasure Show as we move along here during the months. Can't believe it's April. Hopefully we're done with the snow. They're mentioning snow in the chat room. I don't want to see any more snow. I'm done with that. But welcome to tonight's 50's and early 60's edition of the Vinyl Treasure Show. We opened up tonight with a flip side from last week's show by Alan Freed and his rock and roll band, a song called Tina's Canteen. And that was a flip side of Right Now, written by that saxophonist you heard, Mr. Al Sears. He was featured on saxophone. Now, Al Sears, he would be the house band for many of Alan Freed's live rock and roll concerts down in New York City. If you were happened to get to one of those, I wish I could have gone for like $1.50. You got to see some great acts. But anyway, that is the B-side to Right Now, Tina's Canteen, April 1956, release on the Coral record banner. Well, enough of my babbling here. Let's open up here with the vocal portion. Posted this one up on my Facebook wall. Something's wrong with my scanner, something with the clearness of the photographs, but I don't know if it's because it's red vinyl or what. But let's open up the vocal portion with a 45 on the Sky label out of San Francisco, California. It was owned by Mary E. Johnson, and she would resurrect this label back in 62. You know, she would shut it down after 1958 and open it back up in 62. She would call it Skylight, and there are some rare records on the Skylight label by William Wigfall, and the lyrics backed up a couple artists on the label. But this, I think, might have been the debut single. Came out in 1958. It was called Sky Records. The singer goes by the name of Jimmy Royster, along with some vocal group, and it's on nice, cool red vinyl. Let's give it a spin. Jimmy Royster and group on Sky. The song is called Rock.
We're gonna rock all night, baby, gonna rock. Don't worry, baby, gonna rock. All night, baby, gonna rock. Rock this town tonight. I wanna tell you something about my love. She like pop and rock. She did last night and night before. Tonight we're gonna rock. We're gonna rock. All night, baby, gonna rock. Don't worry, baby, gonna rock. All night, baby, gonna rock. Rock this town tonight. Tonight we're gonna turn the TV down to see what's coming on. If anything is on except Buck Jones, we're gonna stay at home. We're gonna rock. All night, baby, gonna rock. Don't worry, baby, gonna rock. All night, baby, gonna rock. Rock this town tonight. We're gonna do the cha-cha-cha. We're gonna do the stroll too. We're gonna dance till just about two. We're gonna do all the dance that's new. We're gonna rock this town tonight. We're gonna rock all night, baby, gonna rock. Don't leave, baby, gonna rock. All night, baby, gonna rock. Rock this town tonight.
Grainy press, those California presses. That's 1958. To open up tonight's vocal portion, Jimmy Royster and a group. It's on Sky Records out of San Francisco, California, song entitled Rock. Bought this from I guess we can call him ex-collector, because he sold out sometime in the late 80s, Mr. Jeff Beckman. Remember, he had an ad in either Discoveries or Gold Mine. Maybe it was Gold Mine at the time. And I purchased some cool 45s from him. And that was one of them. Anyway, was not expensive way back then. But anyway, let's continue here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. I think the first time I heard this song was on on George Tompkins' Oldie Show on WARY out of Westchester Community College in Valhalla. I used to tune in to him every Saturday, and he would play cool tunes like this sometime in the late 1970s. The group is out of Harlem, New York, initially recorded as the Empires on the Harlem label, had other releases on Wing and Mercury. I think they recorded as the Prestos on Mercury, but then they signed with Bobby Robinson's Whirling Disc record label, 2 releases, and their first one they used their original name, the Empires, but on their second they became the Whirlers. This is the intended B-side. It features John Barnes on lead. He also wrote the tune from May 1957. Give a listen to the Whirlers on Whirling Disc and their cool tune. It's called Tonight and Forever.
Tonight and forever, I'll be loving you forever. Yes, we'll be together. Tonight and forever, we were meant for each other, like sister and brother. Yes, we'll be together tonight and forever. I want no other to take your place. I'll never forget your sweet embrace. Tonight and forever, I'll be loving you forever. Yes, we'll be together tonight and forever. We were meant for each other, like sister and brother. Yes, we'll be together tonight and forever. Loving you forever. Yes, we'll be together tonight and forever.
May 1957 release there for the Whirlers, a.k.a. the Empires. Bobby Robinson's Whirling Disc record label, Tonight and Forever is the name of the tune. What a cool tune that is. When I heard that saxophone, that cool sax, sexy saxophone back in the 1950s. And in lots and lots of the 45s that I feature here on the Vinyl Treasure Show, we continue. We count down the music chronologically here. After the first couple of up-tempos, we go back to the early sides here as we're going to go to 1953. And we stay in Harlem, New York on Victor Allen's Allen record label. Posted this one up on my Facebook wall. You can check it out. This group, they're called the Five Willows. Of their 3 releases on the Allen label, this, their third, is by far the hardest to find. And it's a cover of a popular World War II song from 1941 composed by Walter Kent and Nat Burton, first made famous by Vera Lynn in 1942. Have to ask North Dakota Bob if he heard that version from 42, but this was recorded by so many groups in the 1950s and early 60s, and these are the Five Willows, the version by the Five Willows with a young Tony Middleton on lead. We go back to August 1953, the Five Willows on Allen with their rendition of, this is the long title on the label, There'll Be Bluebirds Over the White Cliffs of Dover.
There be bluebirds over the white cliffs of Dover tomorrow. Just you wait and see. will bloom again. Jimmy will go to sleep and his own little room again. There be blue birds over the wide October. Tomorrow, just you wait and see. The shepherd will tend the sheep. The valley will bloom again. And Jimmy will go to sleep in his own little room again. Blue birds over the white cliffs of Dover. Tomorrow, just you wait and see.
Early sides here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. Those are the Five Willows. Five Willows later on became the Willows. You know their big hit, Church Bells May Ring, but that's before that release. This one, August 1953, Tony Middleton on lead there. Their rendition of the tune, There'll Be Bluebirds Over the White Cliffs of Dover. Their third release on the Allen label and their hardest to get by the Five Willows. I don't know, maybe PD might be hard too, as that's a hard 45 to find also. And North Dakota Bob tells me that Vera Lynn, she is still alive and kicking and actually has a CD. She's 100 years old. Oh my goodness. Oh, so I have to check that out, North Dakota Bob, on that CD. Anyway, John G here for a Saturday evening. Hope you're digging on the cool tunes here. Let's move into 1954 for this group out of Hartford, Connecticut. Began recording in late 1949. They had 3 releases on the Lee record label. They all came out only on a 78, those originals, and 3 more on Sittin' In With. Then in mid-1953, they signed with Decca Records for their 3 final releases, and this is their last recording for Decca. It features Sam McClure on lead. We go to July 1954. These are the Shadows on Decca, and their tune is called Big Mouth Mama.
Yeah, she's the big mouth mama and she tells everything she knows. Yeah, she's the big mouth mama, tells everything she knows. I wonder when she learns to keep her big mouth closed. Well, she starts out in the morning, all day long she cleans. Yeah, she starts out in the morning, all day long she cleans. Now she can't be trusted, she even talks in her sleep. Don't you let that gal see a thing you do. She'll sneak around you. She's the big mouth mama, tells everything she knows. I wonder when she learned to keep her big mouth closed. When she learned to keep her big mouth closed. Yeah, now a big mouth woman will make you snap your head. Yes, a big mouth woman will make you snap your head. She'll tell all your business and make is a doggone lie. She's the big mouth mama. Yeah, she's the big mouth mama. I wonder when she'll learn to keep her big mouth closed.
Yeah, does anybody know any big mouth mamas out there? Anyway, those are the Shadows, July 1954 on the Decca label. Decca Records, that's their third and final release. Sam McClure, he's the lead singer. Big Mouth Mama is the name of the tune, and Sam did lead only on 3 of the sides for the Shadows. The rest were all done by Scott King, and he did the majority of the leads for the Shadows. John G here for a Saturday evening. We are counting down the music chronologically here. We are in the year 1954. Now, this next 45 was a result of, or I should say the songs, were a result of a bunch of friends just getting together. And I posted this one up on my Facebook wall. You can check it out. It's on the Harlem label. And one of the friends was Joe Van Loan. He was a member of the Ravens, but he teamed up with 3/4 of the Dewdroppers. The Dewdroppers recorded on Groove and a bunch of other different labels, included J.C. Ginyard, who came up with the name of the group. They were known as the Dixie Airs, and for that name for many of the groups he was associated with over the years. And the result was this lone release on Morty Shad's Harlem label. I'm going to send this one out to George Tompkins because I know he enjoys this lead. Mr. Joe Van Loan, he's the lead singer. We go to mid-1954. Give a listen to the Dixie Airs on Harlem and their tune called Traveling All Alone.
Oh, I've been cheated, mistreated, since I've been on my own, but I'm still on my journey. I'm traveling all alone, never contented, tormented, still left without a home, but I'm still on my journey. I'm traveling all alone. I'm drifting along within a storm, like a ship when it's lost at sea. Oh, with no one inside in the midst of the night, and no one to care for me. Goodbye. Yes, I'm drifting. Destination unknown, but I'm still on my journey. I'm traveling all alone, all alone. I'm traveling, baby, all alone.
Yeah, they don't make songs like that anymore, that's for sure. We'll send that one out to George Tompkins. I know he likes Joe Van Loan on lead there. Those are the Dixie Airs, mid-1954. It's on the Harlem label out of New York City, Traveling All Alone. John G not traveling all alone on this Saturday evening. Hope you're digging on the cool tunes here. Let's continue. I do, as you all know, I do feature many flip sides from the previous show, and here is one. And last week I featured a group called The Kids. They're out of New Orleans. I played the B-side of their Imperial release. It was called Are You Forgetting Me? So let's give a listen to the A-side. I have a promo copy, and somebody scribbled on the label, Do Not Air. Probably some program director or whatever radio station this record came out of. And they wrote on here, Do Not Air, probably because the song title deals with something they probably didn't want to put over the air. So we're going to have to send this one out to all the people that like to drink out there. I don't know who in the chat room likes to drink. I don't know. I know, was it John Rouse? Was that you that like to drink? I forget who it was. There were a couple people in the chat room that used to like to drink in the past. I forget who they were. But anyway, let's give a listen to the intended A-side here. I think it was the intended A-side. These are the Kids from February 1955. We go to Imperial Records. The name of the tune is called Drunk, Drunk, Drunk.
She called me, well, it looks like a cat all lifting me. I said, drunk, drunk and able. Well, now she said to my house to come on. I told her to chairs down the phone, the telephone. I can't understand how she remained on up. She should have been doing since the day the baby. I'm singing drunk. Drunk and Mabel. Well, she's drunk, 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 drunk and Mabel. 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 She's drunk, drunk and Mabel. She called me, well, it looks like a cat all lifting. I said, drunk, drunk and Mabel. Well, drunk, 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 drunk and Mabel. She's 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 drunk.
Saying Drunk and Able, maybe? I don't know what they're saying. The Kids there, February 1955. It's on the Imperial record banner. The flip side of Are You Forgetting Me, a song entitled Drunk, Drunk, Drunk. And they have one other release on the Imperial subsidiary Post Records. And prior to this, they were known as the Pelicans. Very rare 45 on Imperial by the Pelicans. As we continue here on the Vinyl Treasure Show, let's flip over another 45 from last week. We go to George Goldner's Rama label, as what I often do, as taught by my aunt, was to always listen to the flip sides of your 45s. And with this particular 45, I would always play both sides because she did. She played both sides of this 45. Now, last week I featured the Valentines, the A-side, great record that I truly love, a song called I Love You, Darling. I also enjoy the flip. It's with Jimmy Wright and the orchestra. Richard Barrett, he's on lead. And we go to Rama Records, November 1955, the Valentines with Hand Me Down Love.
Hand me down love. I don't want no
B-sides here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. That one sounds really good compared to that recycled vinyl on the Imperial Records. Some of those, you could return your, if you owned a record store in the 1950s, you can return the 45s back to the record store, and what some of them would do is they would remelt the vinyl, they would repress it, and it is not good when they do that. You get poor sounding records, that is for sure, unfortunately. But not on that one. George Goldner used I think he had his own pressing plants there for a time. But anyway, that's a cool B-side. The Valentines, Richard Barrett on lead, the second of 7 for the Valentines on Rama Records, November 1955. Hand Me Down Love. Lots of these 45s are hand me down 45s, at least that I've paid for. But they are used and some of them abused, like this next one. The label unfortunately had some water damage. I hate water damage. I don't like your records to get wet, that is for sure. But this group, they're from Miami, Florida. Between 1954 and 1955, they released 6 on Sid Nathan's Deluxe label. Let's give a spin to their 5th. Features Bill Robinson on lead. They're called Bill Robinson and the Quails. We go back to January 1955, Deluxe Records. The tune is called Love of My Life.
This is the love of my life, 'cause I know it's really right. Can't you see what has happened to me? Love of my life, love of my life. I can go away from home, but I won't stay very long. Can't you see what you're doing to me? Love of my life, love of my life. I'm waiting for someone to come along, someone who's worthy and true. Now that I have a red hair in my arm, baby, you know that it's you. This is the love of my life, 'cause I know it's really right. Can't you see what you're doing to me? Love of my life, love of my life. Of my life, 'cause I know it's really right. Can't you see what you're doing to me? Love of my life, love of my life.
Yes, Gene, cool saxophone there. Love the saxophone in these 45s. That one there for Bill Robinson and the Quails, January 1955 release. Sid Nathan's Deluxe Records, their 5th of 6 releases on Deluxe. Love of My Life is the name of the tune, and that's the label messed up on that. Not happy about that. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening. Hope you're digging on these cool tunes. We are in the year 1945. I couldn't file this next one back unless I played the flip side. I featured this group from Harlem last week. Their 5th release on High Weiss's Old Town label. The A-side was called What Did She Say? Great jump tune for that side. The flip, definitely a great ballad. It features Herman Curtis on lead. These are the Great Solitaires from April 1955. High Weiss's Old Town label with their tune called My Dear.
My dear, how
wish that you were here. I can't wait until you're near. I just want your love, my dear. How I wish that you were here. I can't wait until you're near. I just want your love. Though we must part, you have my heart. Keep it with you and always be true. Someday, somewhere, I'll say a prayer. Let's blend our eager lips again, my dear. Oh, how I wish that you were here. I can't wait until you're near, 'cause I love you so.
I just love that tune by the Solitaires. Herman Curtis, he's the lead singer. April 1955 on High Weiss's Old Town record label. That is their fifth release on Old Town. My Dear is the name of the tune. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening as we continue here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. And this next record was the first 45 I ever purchased as a collector that was over 4 figures. I posted this record on my Facebook wall. You can check it out. But this record really was my inauguration, I guess, into the big-time collecting world. Now, when I bought this record, I said, well, you know, now I think I could play with the big boy collectors out there, as I had really probably a wanted record that a lot of collectors didn't own. And so much so that when Louis Silvani found out, he was the owner, of course, of Times Square Records, he personally called me. I was in his Dobbs Ferry store, and Glenn Fossil, who was his assistant, computer assistant, said, Johnny, Louis needs to talk to you. And I'm like, he wants to talk to me? What does he want to talk to me about? He goes, Mr. Galindo, I heard that you purchased one of my all-time favorite records on the Teen label. And I said, yes, I did, Louie. And he was asking me, he said, well, where did you get this record? I said, well, I bought it from a dealer in Watertown, Massachusetts, Mr. Mike Demersion. He was selling it on consignment. Actually, Christy Masios found this 45 at a flea market somewhere in Massachusetts, I think, I don't know where, for 25 cents. And Mike said, I know somebody who might want this record. Of course, it was me. And I'm telling you, I was a little bit leery at first for spending that amount of money. I'm not going to say it was, let's just say it was in the low 4 figures, very low 4 figures, almost as low as you can get. Not quite that low, but it was a lot at the time. And it was, once you make your first big purchase, then you kind of get over it and you can make other purchases. That is, of course, if you have the cash. You never want to get, I never like to have any debt. That is for sure. When I purchased my records, I always made sure that I had the money because I don't like that debt hanging over my head. So anyway, I was thrilled to get this record. It's a great 2-sided 45, and I guess Christie was happy that he paid a quarter for it, but a great 2-sided 45 as we go to Bernie Lowe's Teen record label out of Philadelphia, PA. I'm featuring the intended B-side tonight. It's from 1956. The group is called the Ebb Tides, and the B-side has the male lead. They were a husband and wife team. The wife is on the A side. The husband's on the B side. This is Teen Records, the Ebb Tides, and it's a B side. It's called Only Be Mine.
Only be mine. I'll lie for you, try for you, cry for you and buy for you. I'll die for you, wonder why for you. Darling, only be mine. I'll behave for you, be a slave for you, shout and rave for you, 'cause I crave for you, and I'll save for you, every day for you. Darling, only be mine. Be mine, be only mine, that you will be divine. My soul is yours, we'll entwine forever, forever till the end of time. I'll command for you, lead a band for you, love and land for you, and understand for you, let it hand for you, be a man for you. Darling, only be mine. I'll lie for you, try for you, cry for you and buy for you. I'll die for you, wonder why for you. Darling, only be mine. I'll behave for you, be a slave for you, shout and rave for you, 'cause I crave for you, and I'll save for you, every day for you. Darling, only be mine. Be mine, be only mine, that you will be divine. My soul is yours, we'll entwine forever, forever till the end of time. I'll command for you, lead a band for you, love and land for you, and understand for you, let it hand for you, be a man for you. Darling, only be mine. Darling, only be mine. Darling, only be mine. Darling, only be mine.
B-sides here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. Those are the Ebb Tides. Ebb Tides on Teen. What a cool tune that is. Only Be Mine is the name of the tune. 1956. I think there's a picture. I was trying to research. I knew they were a husband and wife team, and I'm trying to research. The only thing I got was a picture of Val Shively with that lead singer on that song, and he didn't remember his name. I guess maybe he was being funny because the flip side of the song is "What is your name, dear?" But I'm sure if I ask Val Shively that he will tell me who the lead singer is on that 45. But anyway, the flip side, of course, or the A side is "What is your name, dear?" Female lead. And anyway, John G here for a Saturday evening. Hope you're digging on the cool tunes here. All original vinyl 45s out of my collection. Let's continue here. And up next, a request for Mr. George Tompkins. Thank you, George, for your email and the request. Says last week I featured a group called the Victorians on the Selma label. Actually, both sides of that Selma release in the last 2 weeks. Wedding Bells backed with Please Say You Do. Now, they are the same group that recorded on the Saxony label, Morty Craft's Saxony label, and they are also this group that George requested, known as the Winners, as we go to Eddie Heller's Rainbow label. And I couldn't really find the lead, but to me it sounds like Donnie Shested. He's the lead singer, and he was doing lead, I think, on the side I played last week, Please Say You Do. But this is by request for George Tompkins. We go to March of 1956 for the Winners on Rainbow and their tune called Can This Be Love?
I looked into your eyes. I knew I cared for you. The sparkle that told me you were true. I get that same thrill and chill when you're by my side. I wonder, can this be love? So hard to realize. It seems to be just dream come true. But all I'm wondering, day by day, will this feeling fade away? I wonder, can this be love? Yes, I wonder, day by day, my friends, if she's coming back to me. Well, wonder, day by day, my friends, if this really can be love. I never felt this way. It's so hard to realize. It seems to be just like a dream come true. But all I'm wondering, day by day, will this feeling fade away? I wonder, can this be
By request for George Tompkins. Haven't heard that one in a while. Those are the Winners, March 1956 release. It's on Eddie Heller's Rainbow record label. Can This Be Love is the name of the tune. The Winners, also the Victorians. I guess, Victorians, Winners. Actually, they were pretty clever with coming up with the names of that group, and that's a cool tune. Hopefully you guys are digging on the cool 45s for tonight as we continue. And here's a group out of Baltimore, Maryland, and their friend Eddie Rich of the Swallows, got them to audition here in New York City for the Bahari Brothers satellite office. You know, a lot of these record companies back in the 1950s, they were looking for new talent, and they had offices in lots of the major cities. And evidently Eddie Heller, he said, look, why don't you go over, I forget where, in New York City, and audition for the Bahari Brothers, and maybe you'll get a contract. And that happened for this group. The result was a release on the Modern label. This one features Calvin Khaki Roulette on lead. We go to January of 1956 for the Honey Boys. The Honey Boys on Modern, and their tune, it's called Vippity Vop.
Cutest little girl, and her heart belongs to me. She walks bibbidi bop, then stop. She walks bibbidi bop, then stop. The way she shakes seems to make a blind man blow his top. She calls me daddy, man, just sugar on the sweet thing. All night long. Call me daddy, she's sugar on the sweet thing. All night long, the way she moves, man, she can never do me no wrong. When she walks the street, my heart skips a beat, for the birds on the corner whistle. And a bumper man she's my girl to see. Don't you know, she's the cutest little girl, and her heart belongs to me.
sounds of 1956 here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. That is definitely a rockin' tune, Warren. Have to agree. If you see a title called Vippity Vop, you know it's not going to be a ballad. What kind of ballad would be called Vippity Bop? But those are the Honey Boys, January 1956, the Bahari Brothers' modern record label. Calvin Khaki, Khaki. I guess they had khakis in the 50s, didn't they? Rowlett. He was the lead singer there, the Honey Boys from January 56 with Vippity Vop. Johnny G just Vippity Bopping here through the Vinyl Treasure Show. And on last week's Vinyl Treasure Show, I played the B-side of this 45 by this group out of Newport News, Virginia, their third and final release on Phil Rose's Glory label. The side was called Lovers. Let's give a spin, though, to the intended A-side, which is a cover song. First came out in, 1927, a standard written by Jerome Kern and Oscar Hammerstein. Features Harry Burton on lead, and lots of groups recorded this song, but I'm needing to get the other rendition of this that was done by the Hideaways on Ronnie. 45 I probably never will own. Probably I have to face the fact I'm going to be stuck with my Lost Night reissue on that one. But let's give a listen to this version. They're called The Leaders. We go to May 1956. The Leaders on Glory with their rendition of the tune Can't Help Loving That Girl of Mine.
Well, fish gotta swim, birds gotta fly, gotta love one girl till the day I die. Can't help loving that girl of mine. Tell me she's lazy, tell me she's slow, tell me I'm crazy, maybe I know. Can't help loving that girl of mine. When she goes away, that's a lonely day. But when she comes home, that day is fine. The sun is gonna shine. She can come home late as can be. Home without her just ain't no home for me. Can't help loving that girl of
May 1956 there. On the Glory label, that's the third release, the A-side for The Leaders. The Leaders, Harry Burton, he's the lead singer. Can't Help Loving That Girl of Mine is the name of the tune. Haven't heard that one in quite a while. John G here for a Saturday evening. Hope you're digging on the tunes here as we continue. And here's a group from Newark, the Newark Elizabeth section of New Jersey. They recorded two on Thomas Robinson's Atlas label. Let's give a listen to their second. Features Leroy Williams on lead. This is the intended A-side. We go to September of 56 for the Parakeets Quintet on Atlas Records, and their tune, it's called My Heart Tells Me. September 1956 release there for the Parakeets Quintet. That was their second, because on their first they were just called the Parakeets, but on their second release they were known as the Parakeets Quintet. And that tune there, that's the A-side. It's called My Heart Tells Me. Leroy Williams, he's the lead singer. And remember, these when I first started collecting, I didn't know anything about the music, and I did know some, because whatever my aunt owned, whatever those 45s were, those 50s group harmony records, I knew those, and some were kind of obscure. But when I used to listen to all the oldie shows, they would advertise for material that was coming out. I think Relic Records were putting out the best of series back then, and one of them that I did purchase was the best of Atlas Angletone, only because of one record on that album, believe it or not, because my aunt she didn't hear it for a long time, and she never had the 45, and I said I couldn't find the 45 at the time, so I ended up buying the album. It was the Chandeliers' Blueberry Suite. It was a record that she remembered hearing on the radio but never owned. So I bought that best of Atlas Angletone specifically for that song, and I heard all these other groups on Atlas and Angletone. Of course, now I own all the 45s, at least most of them on the label. And we just heard the Parakeets Quintet, and that group also backed up Brooklyn-born singer Vic Donna, as I featured the B-side to his second release on Thomas Robinson's Atlas label last week. We opened up the show with a song called Count the Tears, but let's flip the 45 over, because this is the intended A-side from April 1957. Vic Donna being backed up with that group you just heard, the Parakeets. This one is on Atlas. The tune is called... Love Was a Stranger to Me.
Once you wanted me, but I just couldn't see. For at that time, love was a stranger to me. How was I to know that I could love you so? When you were mine, love was a stranger to me. I wonder how it would have been if I had been wise. I know now how it should have been. Too late, I realize. Now, what can I do? I know that I've lost you. When you were mine, love was a stranger to me. I thought that your love was a stranger to me. Stranger.
See, some of these Some of these Atlas and Angletone presses, grainy recycled wax. You heard an Atlas before that was sounding a lot better, but that one, a little bit grainy there, but what are you going to do? That's Vic Donna back with the Parakeets, April 1957 release on the Atlas label, the second of two on Atlas. Love Was a Stranger to Me. No, it is not. Jai G here for a Saturday evening. Hope you're digging on the cool tunes here. Let's continue for this next group. They're out of Nashville, Tennessee. They originally got together at Fisk University back in 1955. I featured their first release. I played both sides of their Sun release, Sam Phillips' Sun release. They were called the Five Tinos. They also recorded on the Hypo label as the Esquires. I don't have that 45. See, I don't have everything. I'm looking for that one. I think I have a boot of it, though. But I need that 45. Then in 1957, they signed with Foster Johnson's dub label out of Little Rock, Arkansas. And they just called themselves the Tinos. And the first press of this came out in November of 1957, and it was released again in May of 58, the difference being the time on the record. So the true first press of this is the one that is 3 minutes and 2 seconds. So those of you that own this 45 on the dub label by the Tinos, check out your version. If you have 3 minutes and 2 seconds, you have the long version and the original. But if you have 2 minutes and 31 seconds, that is the shorter version, which I think they sped up just a little bit, and they definitely shortened. But I'm playing the long version now. We go to November of 57. These are the Tinos on Dub Records, and their tune, it's called Love Only One.
Let the one leave me. You must love me, darling. Love only one. Oh, I've done my best, try to treat you right. But you just don't know what love is like. Darling, love only one. Every night it seems, oh yeah, right in my dream. And here I'm holding you tight. With all of my that's the one I know you must love me, darling. Love only one. Every night I sing, oh yes, why in my dream, and dear that I'm holding you tight. You with all of my let the one me, darling. I know you must love me. Love only one.
November 57 release there. Those are the Tinos, a.k.a. the Esquires, a.k.a. the Five Tinos. That one there on the dub record label. Love Only One is the name of the tune. Love that echo. How they get that echo sound in the background. And I should have had the other copy. I think I do have it somewhere here. Play a little bit of the other copy. You can see a little bit different. But anyway, that's enough for that. The song 3 minutes and 2 seconds, 1957, was too long, they figured. Although, believe it or not, those of you that enjoy the channels, the closer you are, that record is 3 minutes also. So not many records in the 1950s were to go 3 minutes. That was much too long. I think the average was more like 2 minutes, I think, or a little bit over 2 minutes. Anyway, John G babbling on here. We are in the year 1957, and last week I featured this artist, born in New Orleans but raised in Buffalo, New York. I played his second of 8 on Sid Nathan's deluxe label. The tune was called Believe It or Not, and at the time he was just 21 years old. So let's flip over that 45, give a spin to the B-side before I file it back down in the no humidity basement. And this is Mr. Donnie Elbert. Donnie Elbert from August 1957, Deluxe Records. The tune is called Tell Me So. August 57 there. Mr. Donnie Elbert and a group. The group comes in there sounding pretty cool. It's on Deluxe Records, the flip side of Believe It or Not. Song entitled Tell Me So. Now, we lost Donnie Elbert on January 26, 1989, and at the time, he was 52 years old. He was working as a director of A&R for Polygram Records in Canada, their Canadian division, when he suffered a massive stroke and he died, but he left us with some great music like that. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening as we continue. Here's another group out of Baltimore, Maryland, and this is another cool request for Mr. George Tompkins as we go to Zell Sanders' J&S record label out of the Bronx, New York, and it's the second of 2 for them on the J&S label. Features George Jackson on lead. We go to May of 1958. We move into 58. Zell Sanders' J&S record label. These are the Plants for George Tompkins. The tune is called From Me.
I want to be sure, my dear. Don't want you to have no fear. 'Cause I love you so, won't ever let you go. From me, I want your every care. Even if you are far or near, for my heart might even stray. Don't you ever go away from me. It may take time to make up my mind, but I'm sure you're the girl for me. 'Cause we made a vow to never part, so darling, stay with my heart. I promise not to make you cry. Now until the day I die. 'Cause I love you so, won't ever let you go. So please, don't go.
That's a great tune there. Thanks for that request, Mr. Tompkins. Those are the Plants from May 1958. And George requested From Me. That's a cool tune. Syl Sanders, J&S record label. Now, there is a third 45 by the Plants on the J&S label, but they are, a totally different group. They are not that group that you just heard with George Jackson on lead. Now, he would go on to have a few solo releases on the Les K label, Double R, and Mercury in the early 1960s. I think it's Watching the Rainbow is a great record that he does on the Les K label. John G here for a Saturday evening. Hope you're digging on these cool tunes. We are in the year 1958. I have another B-side from last week. I featured this Brooklyn, New York group. Their third of four on Mercury was a cover of the Elgins, A Picture of You. We're going to flip over their cover of that for a tune co-written by their manager. His name was Danny Webb. You know I'm talking about the Dan Lears. It features Jimmy Weston on lead. As we flip over A Picture of You, we go to December of 58 for the Dan Lears on Mercury, and their tune is called Prelude to Love.
I stood there looking in your eyes, just wondering what you're thinking of. Then suddenly you smile at me. That was my prelude to love. I took your hand inside of mine. You gave my restless heart a show, and all at once my dreams came true. That was my prelude to love. So warm and tender, I never thought I'd ever sigh. My darling, I surrender. When your lips were touching mine, angels from above, they said your love
was my prelude to love.
That's Jimmy Weston and the Dan Lear's Prelude to Love is the name of the tune. That's a B-side to A Picture of You. That released there from December 1958. We are in the year of 1958, yet I have another flip side from last week, and this time by the Prodigals. They're out of Clarksburg, West Virginia. I played the B-side, the ballad B-side of their second release on Abner. Their first, Marcia, was on a Falcon, but then they had to change their name to Abner, and I played You Won't Believe. Very nice ballad, but here's the intended A-side, which is Fast, and the follow-up to their other Fast release, which was Marcia, features Chuck Collins on lead. We go to August of 58, the Prodigals on Abner, and their tune called Vanjie.
Vanjie is my cutie, she's my tutti frutti, she's my only heart desire. She's my one and only, I'm never lonely, she's like a ball of fire. She's not much to see, but she belongs to me, her loving gives me a thrill. We're gonna be married, we're gonna live happy up on a blueberry hill. In a horrible dream. Vanjie is my cutie, she's my tutti frutti, she's my only heart desire. She's my one and only, I'm never lonely, she's like a ball of fire. Ball of fire.
As Johnny G gets caught putting in a CD to record. Anyway, was that like a Jerry Lee Lewis banging on the piano there sound alike? Anyway, those are the Prodigals. Chuck Collins, he's the lead singer, August 1958. That's the intended A-side. Abner Records, song entitled Vanjie. Now, how many gals do you know by the name of Vanjie? I don't know many gals. I'm sure that was a name that was used at one time, but you can use any name you like, that is for sure. Well, I'm using Johnny G, and I'm spinning my original vinyl 45s. We are in the year 1958. Let's go back to Philadelphia, PA for this next group. They're called the Deckers, and their first release came out on the NAR label back in 1957. Actually, they backed up Lynn Christie on NAR. Then in 1958, there were a couple of personnel changes, and they signed with the Yeadon label, Yeadon, owned by Jack Green, and they released this one single. This is the intended A-side. It features Sam Connors on lead. We go to October 1958 for the Deckers on Yeadon, and the tune is called Sincerely with All My Heart.
Ever since the day we met, your embrace sincerely with all my heart. The plans, dear, we once made have suddenly faded away. Darling, I am lonely, girl, want you only with all my heart. Although there'll come a time, yes, one day you'll be mine. Though I know you're so far away. Yes, and when you're in my arms, I'm free for all your charms. I'll love you the same way. I'll pray, dear, for your return, and in my dreams, my heart for you yearns. Darling, I love you, yes, so sincerely, with all my
Those are the Deckers from October 1958 on the Yadon label, Sincerely With All My Heart. And that one there with Sam Connors on lead. Linda, I'm going to answer your question. D-O-R-E, like the label that Jan and Dean were on, and the baritones and the superbs. It's pronounced Dore. A lot of people say Doree, but if you look, there's that accent over the E. It's Dore. It's not Dory. A lot of people call it Dory. It's Dore. That's how you pronounce it. Anyway, John G here for a Saturday evening as we continue. And on last week's Vinyl Treasure Show, I played the debut 45 by Jimmy Holiday. And in the 1960s through 1970, had a number of soul 45s on different labels. His biggest hit was in 63 on the Everest label, the original version of How Can I Forget. But I played the B-side of his debut single, came out on really a hillbilly, rockabilly label, 4-Star Records out of California, but was a nice ballad. It was called All I Want Is You, but this is the intended A-side, a song he wrote. And listen to the background vocals of the group in the background making these vocal sounds. Very interesting. This one from June of 58. It's Jim Holiday and the Future Tones. It's on 4-Star Records. And the tune is called Voice of the Drums.
Can you, do you hear the voice of the drums? My boo, pa 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 you. 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 The drum I sing, pa 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 you. Beware of your eyes, pa 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 you. The drum I sing, pa 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 you. I should realize that if you capture my heart right from the start, I'll be your slave. I'll be your slave. The drum I say, pa 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 you. Love's in the air, pa 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 you. The drum I say, pa 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 you. It must track somewhere, pa 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 you. And when you're near me like this, my lips long to kiss the one they crave. Oh, when you near me, you're all I'm thinking of. So, my darling, this must be love. Don't I say, pa 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 you. The drum on say, witchcraft on me. So far as long as I may live, I hereby pledge to give you all my love. Oh, when you need me, you're all I'm thinking of. So, my darling, this must be love. The drums say, I'll never be free. The drums say, witchcraft's on me. So far as long as I may live, I hereby pledge to give you all my love. My boo, you, my boo, you, my boo,
That's Jim Holiday and the Future Tones. That is the intended A-side, a song he wrote from June 1958 on the 4-star record label Voice of the Drums. You hear Voice of Johnny G's Hoarse Throat as we continue here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. We are in the year 1959 now. We move into 59 with a girl group out of Philadelphia, PA. This trio started recording back in 1956, had their first release on the G&M label. Then in 58, they signed with Herman Lubinsky's Savoy label, had 2 releases on Savoy, and the group included Della Jo Campbell, Doris Gibson, and lead singer, her name is Willarine Ward Moultrie, and she also wrote this tune as we go to March of 59 on Savoy Records, The Gay Charmers, the name of the group. The tune is called Why Do You Hurt Me, Darling? March 1959 there. Those are the Gay Charmers. Gay Charmers, Willarine Ward Moultries on lead. I think That's her married name, I guess. But anyway, Why Do You Hurt Me, Darling is the name of the tune. Herman Lubinsky's Savoy Records out of Newark, New Jersey, where your host Johnny G drives into every day. And I just love that. But anyway, Willarine, she was previously a member of the Clara Ward Singers, also recorded for Savoy, but she left to form this group, and they would have another release on the Grand label. You can also get that Grand release on the Swan label. John G here for a Saturday evening. We are in the year 1959. Let's go to another flip side from last week. I featured a 45 on the Forte label by a group called the Dan DeVilles. And the side I played was called Heavenly Angel. It was a George Mottola production. That was the A side. So let's flip it over. Give a listen to the B side before I file it back down in the No Humidity basement. It's from June of 59. They're called the Dan DeVilles, Forte Records, and the tune is called Psychology.
Then what do you want? Oh, I know. Then what do you want? I don't want to be a psychologist. I don't want to be a physiologist. I don't want to be a biologist. Oh, I know. Then what do you want? Just for I don't want to be king or wrong. I don't want to sit on his throne. I don't want the riches that are known. Oh, I know. Then what do you want? Just for squeeze you tight. What do you want? I don't want to be a physiologist. I don't want to be a biologist. I don't want to be a psychologist. I just want to hold you, dear. I don't want to be a king. I don't want to sit all alone. I don't want all riches. I just want to hold.
As from June 59 on the Dan DeVilles there. The Dan DeVilles on the Forte label, song entitled Psychology. And the group's first release was on the Gaiden label. I see that one of the writers of the song was Yahtzee Millsap. He was a friend of George Mottola, probably owned the label too, this Forte label. And I had to take psychology. I went to Pace University, graduated 1980. It was actually CPA prep, but I hated CPA work. I took the test as a senior, had to pass it. I think I got a Circle 65, but I went into private accounting is what I did. But I had to take psychology. Very interesting course to take psychology. It was one of my electives. You learn some cool stuff in psychology, that is for sure. As John G babbles on here, and let's stay with another George Mottola related record for this group called the Capris, a.k.a. the Hollywood Saxons. Now, according to that book that Warren knows where I got my copy from, that Steve Probst and Galen Gart book, L.A. Vocal Groups, this song was a typical George Mottola production, pre-recorded instrumental track used to accompany the group's vocal. Now, Mottola would get various session musicians, like I think for this instant, pianist Ernie Freeman, and he could make the arrangements in like 5 minutes, and they would record the track first. Now, with this recording, the lead singer, Stan Beverly, he remembers singing this tune, and specific to this song, Stan Beverly said that the key of the track was too low for him. So he was really upset when he had to sing this record because it wasn't really his key. And he was kind of singing in a high tenor voice, which he complained about. And the bass singer of this group, Charles Taggart, he does the floating falsetto. It was patterned after the effect created by Jesse Belvin with the Shields song. I know you know the tune, You Cheated with by the Shields. And also similar to It's True by the Saxons, a.k.a. the Hollywood Saxons. So let's give this a spin here. These are the Hollywood Saxons, a.k.a. they're called the Capris. George Mottola said, we're changing your name to the Capris. We're going to put it out on the Tender label, and it's a cool tune. I do like this tune from January 59, the Capris with Endless Love. Those are the Capris, a.k.a. the Hollywood Saxons. They're singing to the music was already laid down. He didn't like that. Was kind of offbeat. I think it's a great record. I think Warren does too. Bopper Boy Warren agrees with Johnny G. Those are the Capris. The Capris, Stan Beverly on lead, January 1959. It's on the Tender label, and the tune is called Endless Love. Endless 45s here for a Saturday evening. We move into the year 1960 now. Here's a song I used to hear quite often when I used to tune in to the Gus Gossard Show on WPIX FM. I don't remember when he was on CBS FM. I don't remember tuning in then. I do remember seeing the advertisements on WPIX TV and finding out about the show. Was on Saturdays and Sundays eventually. It was on twice. Whoever heard it? Well, we can do it on the internet, but I don't know, on regular radio. Well, I guess guys are on every day, but he was on Saturday and Sunday. I think it was like 7 to 11, and then it went to 12. I don't know, but he would play this song often with his group out of Trenton, New Jersey, and the song was first released on the Jordan label, which is out of 730 Fifth Avenue in New York City, if Linda knows where that is, and then issued on two other labels, the New Tone label, which I don't think I've ever seen before, and the third release, which I have seen and have, the most common release, is on the Pixie label. And actually, I did see the new Trend label. I think I do have the record. But anyway, the lead singer is Larry Steele. He wrote the tune. I posted this one up on my Facebook wall. And another thing about my copy is that it is on cool yellow vinyl. And for you collectors out there, the Jordan release has the long introduction. It's not on the Pixie release, and I don't recall if it's on the New Tone either. But if anybody knows for sure, send Johnny G an email at vinyltreasures@AOL.com. But let's give it a spin without further ado. September 1960, these are the Majestics. Larry Steele on lead. He wrote the tune. It's on Jordan. It's called Searching for a New Love.
I'm searching for a new love, a love that will be true. I'm searching for a new love, and I hope it will be you.
Yeah, well, boom, 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 boom.
Searching for a new love, a love that will be true. I'm searching for a new love, and I hope it will be you. Oh, darling, won't you come to me and make my search be through? I've traveled around this world before, but never could I find someone to really love me and give me peace of mind. Oh, darling, won't you come to me and make my searching be through? Make it be true. Oh, darling, tell me what I want to know. Oh, darling, tell me that you'll never let me go. And in my dreams will come true, and my searching will be true. Oh, I've traveled around this world before, but never could I find someone to really love me and give me peace of mind. Oh, darling, won't you come to me and make my searching come true? So true. Whoa, whoa.
Right out of the Gus Gossard Oldie Show there. Those are the Majestics, September 1960 release, featured it on the Jordan label, Searching for a New Love. The late Larry Steele, he's the lead singer, also wrote the tune. I think the flip side's good too. Nice ballad on the flip side there. John G here for a Saturday evening as we continue. And this next artist, he was born Melvin Moore in Houston, Texas. And but as an infant, he acquired his stepfather's surname of Braxton. And he started singing as a member of a group known as the Dots. They recorded on the Caddy label, 3 males and 1 female. The female singer, the lead, Jeanette Baker was her name. She was the gal. The other 3 were Ray Brewster, Pete Smith, and Melvin Braxton, a.k.a. Johnny Flamingo. And it was the Caddy label owner, Dick Huggy Boy Hug, that recommended that Johnny go solo. And actually, he changed his name because he made him change his name from Melvin Braxton to Johnny Flamingo. And releases followed on the Caddy label, others on Aladdin, Specialty, and other really oddball labels for Johnny Flamingo. And here's one from 1960, and he's being backed up by Richard Berry and his Pharaohs, and it's on Dick Huggy Boy's Canton label. And he called this label Canton because he was born in Canton, Ohio. That's Mr. Dick Huggy Boy Hug. But anyway, it's a cover song originally recorded by the Velvets on Red Robin. I'm sure you know the tune from November of 53, but let's go back to 1960 for a version by Johnny Flamingo and Richard Berry and the Pharaohs backing him up. His rendition of the tune called One Word or One Letter. It's called I. Cover tunes here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. That is Johnny Flamingo from 1960. The background there, Richard Berry and the Pharaohs, they're backing him up on that one. It's on the Canton label, C-A-N-T-O-N, like Canton, Ohio, and their rendition of the Velvets tune, a song entitled I. John G continuing here, 1960 style, but I can't tell you much about this next 45. It's on a New York City label. It's called El Toro Records. And the group is called The Invaders, and it features Johnny Burton on lead. He also wrote the tune. Let's give it a spin. From 1960, The Invaders on El Toro. It's called Paradise.
Did you
something I won't do. No, 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 no. I am only human. You are so divine. Yeah, yeah. And
Sounds of 1960 here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. Those are the Invaders. The Invaders on the El Toro label. It's a label out of New York City. The song is called Paradise, and the lead singer's name is Johnny Burton. He also wrote the tune. I purchased this 45 from the estate of Dave Antrell, who at one time he was the premier collector of all this music. There was no one else in the United States that had as many great group records as Dave Antrell, and he was a doctor that evidently just things did not work out, and he became very sick on his own accord, unfortunately, and he passed away. And his brother, Kevin Antrobus, he would sell. He was in the process of selling his 45s, and he would not budge with the prices. There was some really overpriced records, I thought, but some were ultra rare, and I mean, at that time, I only had a limited budget, and I did buy quite a few records eventually out of Dave Antrell's collection. But Kevin would occasionally show up at the Allentown, PA show where I bought that 45, amongst some others. Unfortunately, that Kevin also has passed away. A very sad thing. But I have a number of his 45s in my collection that were first owned by Dave Antrell. So I guess I'm really proud to say that actually Mad Mike also is another disc jockey I have records from. George Doo-Wop Tompkins, I have 45s in my collection. There's a bunch of collectors and dealers out and DJs that I do have records of theirs in my collection, as John G babbles on. Well, let's continue here. We move into 1961 for this group out of Philadelphia, PA. They have another release on the Cansoma label, another Philly label, but this is on the Nita label. Bought this one from collector dealer Tom Klein at an Allentown, PA show, believe it or not. And this record now sells for crazy money now. I don't know what it is, but anyway, it does. It's from 61. The group is called the Corlettes. It's on Nita Records, and the full title is Tears on My Pillow, parentheses, and Pain in My Heart.
You were the fooling right from the start.
group there called the Corlettes, 1961, on the Nita record label, Tears on My Pillow and Pains in My Heart. John G here for a Saturday evening. Next Saturday, it's the last Saturday of the month. That means it's my all 1960s show. So next Saturday, for those of you that like the mid to later 60s, I'll be playing all 60s next Saturday. I'll be back in 2 weeks on, is it the 2nd? Maybe the 2nd, May 2nd already. Oh my goodness! Then for the all 50s and early 60s edition. Let's continue here on this next group. They're from the Chelsea section of New York City. They had just one release on Trade Martin's Power Martin label. Trade Martin, a Facebook friend of your host Johnny G, and it features 16-year-old Johnny Harahan. He's the lead singer. We go to October of 61 for this group called the Pretenders. It's on Power Martin Records. The name of the tune is called Smile.
Why
don't you smile?
That's on Trade Martin's Power Martin record label. October 1961 release. They're called the Pretenders. The name of the tune is called Smile. And Johnny Hanrahan, he's the lead singer. There were some unreleased sides that came out in 1976 by this group. Unfortunately, that Johnny Hanrahan, I don't know why I have trouble saying that name. He passed away on January 22nd, 1916 at the age of 70, but that is a cool tune. I like that tune, Smile. John G here for a Saturday evening. Let's continue here as we are actually in Vinyl Treasure Overtime. We go back out to California, and this artist, I think he has other releases that came out on the Dore label. There you go, Linda, Dore Records, and also Original Sound Records. But this one's on the Radiant label out of Los Angeles, California, and it was written by the lead singer. His name is Johnny Cole, and his group, it's called Johnny Cole and the Reptiles. We go to September of 61 on Radiant, and give a listen to his tune. It's called Wrap My Heart in Velvet.
Take my dreams and throw them away. Wrap it up, take my love. It's yours anyway. Wrap it up, but wrap my heart in velvet, or it will break.
Sounds of California here on the Vinyl Treasure Overtime. What a cool name for a group. It would be Johnny G and the Reptiles. No, it's Johnny Cole and the Reptiles. September 1961. It's on the Radiant label, and the song is called Wrap My Heart in Velvet. Let's do a little bit more of the overtime here before we wrap up here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. This next group, they're from Philadelphia, PA. The lead singer goes by the name of Billy Vaughn. He would then change his name to Billy Abbott. Of course, I know you might know his song on the Parkway label as Billy Abbott and the Jewels. They got a cool tune called Groovy Baby. But prior to that, he wrote this tune with Billy Jackson, a group member, and this one charted number 72 on KAYO out of Seattle, Washington, and the name of the group was called the Corvells. We go back to April of 62, the Corvells on ABC Paramount, and give a listen to their cool jump tune, their up-tempo. It's called Take My Love. April 62 release there for the Corvells. Corvells, Billy Vaughn, he's the lead singer. Take My Love's the name of the tune. That one there on the ABC Paramount record label. The flip side's a great ballad, song entitled Daisy. That'll be getting on in 2 weeks here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. Let's continue for a few more here. On last week's Vinyl Treasure Show, I featured a song called Nationwide Stamps, as done by Ben White and the Darshays. Came out on Al Brown's Al John label. Singer Ben White, he's from Asbury Park, New Jersey. He was a friend of Philadelphia disc jockey Jocko Henderson, and he wanted to do a song and dedicate it to Jocko Henderson. The result was this release, really, which is really a hard record to find. I was lucky to find this for 10 cents at the Yonkers Raceway Flea Market. I found it with the other record on Al John by Ray and the Darshays. That's Ray DeRouge and the Darshays, but they're backing up Ben White on this one. We go to September of 62 for Ben White and the Darshays, Al John Records, Al Brown and his orchestra. The song is called Jocko Sent Me.
Jocko sent me to
make all my dreams come true. How could he know I love all your charm? How could he know you melt in my arms? One thing is certain, one thing is true. There's no one pretty baby to compare with you. Jocko sent me, I'm yours alone. Love me, baby, I'll never roam. So let's name the day when all our dreams come true. Jocko sent me, Jocko sent me, Jocko sent me.
September 62 release on Al Brown's Al John record label. Al Brown and his orchestra there backing up Ben White and the Darshays. And that is the B-side of the 45, Jocko Sent Me. Jocko, talking about Jocko Henderson, the rhyming disc jockey. Remember, I never heard him live. I did, one of the listeners that passed away, Ron Freireit, used to listen to me. He was a heart doctor, he was the head of, down in Atlanta, Atlanta was one of the major hospitals in Atlanta, and he would listen to Jocko Henderson. Actually, he came up here to New York to a medical convention, and he sent me an email. He goes, John, I want to meet you. I mean, he was listening to my show. It was amazing. And he said, John, I want to listen to you. I have a tape that I want you to put on CD for me. And he left it with the consigliere at the hotel, and I came there late. They all left to go out to dinner, and I picked it up, but I communicated with him often via mail, and then I found out I didn't hear from him for a while, and then I think his wife contacted me via my website, vinyltreasures.net, and said he suddenly passed away. He was a heart doctor, and he passed away, and he used to listen to Jocko Henderson. I have, I think, a 45-minute radio clip that he recorded as a kid of Jocko Henderson on the station. I think he was playing a bunch of cool records. The Schoolboys was one. It was a 1957 show. Anyway, as I babble on here in overtime and lose my voice, we'll continue for a few more here, and back to Hollywood, California, we go to the Invicta label, which looks like it's a subsidiary of the Indigo label. I think that's what I read, but the group is called The Values, and I know two of the members, Leonard Hogaines and Billy Thedford, and the group also recorded as the Calendars on the Chattahoochee label. They do a great song in 62 called You Don't Fall in Love, but this song was, as that Chattahoochee, was produced and arranged by Skip Batten, and he was, of course, Skip of Skip and Flip, of It Was I fame, but he was producing records in the early 1960s. So let's give this one a listen from August of 62. They're called The Values. It's on Invicta, and it's called That's the Way.
That's the way it will be.
That song reminds me of a tune called Blue Ribbon Baby, is done, I think, by the Three Friends. I think anyway, but that's a cool tune there. They're called The Values from August 62. A Skip Batten production. It's on the Invicta label. It's called That's the Way. We continue for a few more here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. For this group that started back in 1958, they recorded 2 on the Mercury record banner. Then they had other releases in 59 on the Strand label. And finally, this cool two-sided 45 as we move up to the year 1963. I'm playing the intended B-side. Both sides are good in my opinion, but they're called the Miller Brothers. This is the B-side of the 45. We go back to February 1963. The Miller Brothers on Coed. Their tune is called Let Me Know.
If I wanted you and treat you right, would you love me each day and night? 'Cause I don't wanna be hurt by someone I love. If I wanted you, would your love be strong? And would it last for oh so long? And oh darling, please let me know. Weeks go by, I sit here and can't deny that I love you with all my heart. If I wanted you, would your love be strong? And would it last for
B-sides here on the Vinyl Treasure Overtime. Wow, that's a great record, I think. I haven't heard it in such a long time. That is the B-side of the 45. They're called the Miller Brothers, February 1963. Coed Records out of New York City. Their tune called Let Me Know. Let's continue for a little bit more here. Let's move to March of 64. This next group, they're out of Chicago, Illinois. Don't know much about them. They're called the Candidates. And really don't know anything about the group, but the song is produced by Howard Pittman, I know that name, and arranged by Doug Johnson. This is the intended B-side of the 45. I think both sides of this record are good, but this is the up-tempo side from March of 64. Give a listen to the Candidates on Concord. It's called Hypnotize.
When I'm with you, I feel as crazy as I can be. My
March 64 release there. They're called they're called the Candidates. The Candidates is on the Concord label. It's out of Chicago, Illinois, and their tune, it's called Hypnotize. We'll play the A-side in 2 weeks when Johnny G comes back for his 50s and early 60s edition, playing some 60s songs here. And not much information on this next gal. She's out of New York City. Her name is Margot Treadwell, and she has this lone 45 on the Lennox label, and I like both sides of this 45. This is the intended B-side, arranged and produced by Herb Bernstein, and it's from April of 63, Lennox Records, Margot Treadwell. Give a listen to her tune. It's called I Can't Keep Myself from Loving You.
To cry, and I won't cry. Tell me not to sleep, and I won't sleep. But tell me not to love you, and there's nothing I can do, because I can't stop loving you. Yes, I can't stop loving you.
April 63 release there for Margot Treadwell. Kind of sounding like the Essex a little bit in the background there with that group. Can't Keep Myself from Loving You. It's on the Lennox record label out of New York City. Johnny can't keep myself from continuing to play some 45s. I'm almost out of the 42 records that I pulled out, so I might as well go till the end here. And this next one is a ultra rare 45 out of California, and I could have played it earlier because by 1964 this sound was out. It was out. This record, for whatever reason, it was pulled back. It was not going to get played on the air. It just wasn't, unfortunately. But it's on the Galaxy label out of California. The group formed in Lincoln Heights, the Lincoln Heights section of Los Angeles. And it's so unfortunate that Galaxy released this single during the height of the British invasion. And that's really what doomed this song. It was produced by Cliff Goldsmith, who earlier did all that work with the Olympics on RV, had some major hits, but it's such a great song out of 1964, and I got to thank Mike Noriega. He was the one that really got me this record quite a number of years ago now, but it features James Hubbard on lead. We go to August of 64. It's on Galaxy Records, that green label, a lot of those Roger Collins 45s on Galaxy, but this one right in the middle somewhere by a group called The Showcases, and it's a great tune. The song is called This Love Was Real.
This love, this love,
This love was real.
this love was
wonderful. Oh, yes it was. And I know,
Yes, I know.
his love was real.
This love was real.
As the heavens were opened, I can see the vision of my love that was dear to me. And I know
Yes, I know.
his love was real.
This love was real.
This love, yes, it was this love that was so wonderful that no one in this world could calmly share the happiness. And as I look at the heavens up above, I still perceive that love that was dear to me because
This love was real.
heavens were open. I can see the vision of my love that was dear to me. And I know, yes I know, his love was real.
This love.
Ah, this love.
Do you believe that record? Released in August of '64, right in the middle of the British invasion. Those are the showcases there. Galaxy Records didn't feature it on that second press. What, on Falco Records? There's a real one on the Galaxy label. You don't believe me? Go to my Johnny G Vinyl Treasures YouTube account. You will see this 45 at the end. What? It's at 229. You'll see the 45. It's really a rare record, folks. James Hubbard on lead. The showcases there with This Love Was Real. Now, this group would later evolve into Mr. Zulu and the Warriors on the Score label, which is another cool 45 on red vinyl, by the way. Johnny G here doing Vinyl Treasure Overtime. Almost finished with all these 45s. Let's stay in 64. Featured the B-side of this one probably a number of months ago by this Brooklyn group, and most of the members were previously members of a group called The Creations. They had a 61 release on the Pinecrest label, but in 64 they added a new lead singer. His name was James Nisi, and they changed their name to The Riffs. Now, I featured the B-side of this 45 on the original label Sunny Records, Why Are the Nights So Cold, which I do like. Hopefully no more cold nights, that is for sure. But let's flip over that 45. This is the intended A-side from September 54. They're called The Riffs, Riffs, on Sunny Records, and it's called Little Girl.
Little girl, 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 you're so nice, little girl, you're my sugar and spice, and I know you're just meant for me, little girl. Lead us to our wonderland. Little girl, oh, you're just right, little girl. You're my heart's delight, and I know, oh, you're just meant for me. Little girl, I dream of only you, little girl. You make my dreams come true, little girl. Come take me by
September 64 release there. They're called The Riffs. The Riffs on the original label, Sunny Records. The flip side, Why Are the Nights So Cold, comes out on High Weiss's Old Town record label. I don't think it has this side, Little Girl. But anyway, that is James Nisi. He's the lead singer of The Riffs from September 64, Little Girl. And I forget what the B-side is on the other Old Town release. But anyway, 2 more 45s to go before Johnny G signs off here. Wow, Charlene, we got through all these 45s, all of them that we researched. But this girl group, they're from Chicago, Illinois, initially recording as the Starlets back in 1961 on the Pam and OK labels. But while touring Philadelphia, they recorded a song I'm sure many of you know if you're familiar with the tune I Sold My Heart to the Junkman. That tune in 1962 that was eventually released, but they couldn't call themselves the Starlets on that release, so they became the Bluebells. And when the record company wanted to promote the record, they had these gals were signed to another label. They couldn't go out on American Bandstand and promote the record, so the owners of the label had to go out and find a replacement group to go and sing I Sold My Heart to the Junkman, and that was Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells, and the rest is history for Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells. But originally, that song, I Sold My Heart to the Junkman, was done by this girl group called the Starlets, and there were a few of their tracks that were still in the can when they made that trip to Philadelphia, and this is one of them that came out on the Rainbow label. These are really the Starlets, but on this release they called them the Bluebells, and these are the real Bluebells, aka the Starlets. But anyway, if you understand that, then you understand everything that Johnny G says. But anyways, from May 64, here are the Bluebells on Rainbow. The tune is called You Better Move On.
You just fooling yourself. You just fooling yourself. Just because you said he smiled at you, just because you had a dance or two, just like that, you want to move right in, just like that, and take my boyfriend, just like that. I'll never stay up for that, just like that, and try to hide the pride, but no, 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 no. If you think that I could sit around and cry while you try to move in on me, well, you just fooling yourself. You just fooling yourself. Just because you said he wrote you a letter, just because you say he called you on the phone, just like that, you try to make me think he's after you, just like that, and believe our romance is true, just like that. I'll never give it up to you, just like that, no matter what you try to do. No, 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 no. If you think that I would sit around and cry while you try to move in on me, well, you just fooling yourself. You just fooling yourself. Get along, girl, be on your way, for there's no room for you. There's not a thing in all of life that I'd like you to do. If you think that I will sit around and cry while you're trying to move in on me, well, you just fooling yourself. I said you just fooling yourself. Don't you know you just fooling yourself? I said you just fooling yourself.
Well, Well, it's been a long night and it's been a long week for your host, Johnny G. I didn't really feel well earlier in the week. I really have some issues I have to attend to. But anyway, I made a mistake on that, by the way. It was the Bluebells, a.k.a. the Starlets, not the Scarlets, Linda, the Starlets. And that's from May of 64 on the Rainbow label. And it's not You Better Move On. That's the flip side, although that would have been a good closer. But that tune there, it's called You're Just Fooling Yourself, which is actually a pretty cool record. That is the intended A-side of the 45 anyway, folks. But that is a cool tune, so Johnny G apologizes for that. You know, we are live radio here. But that's going to do it, folks, for Johnny G and the Vinyl Treasure Show. I want to thank you for joining Johnny G, listening to original vinyl 45s out of my collection. You want to get in touch with Johnny G, please send me an email at vinyltreasures@aol.com. Been recording this one on the Ustream broadcaster. For all you collectors out there, get a lot of people to go to my YouTube page to view this, and I'll post it up there probably right after the show. You can check it out, and you can also go to my website, vinyltreasures.net. You can stream or download the shows there to your liking. Got a lot of older shows there, but that's going to do it, folks. And we're going to close the show tonight with a group out of New Haven, Connecticut. They're called the Van Dykes. Totally different from the other Van Dykes groups. I think the Van Dykes on King. This group were members of, or ex-members of, the Catalinas that recorded for the Little record label. The song charted regionally, was a big number 6 record. If you were in New Haven, Connecticut, listening to WAVZ, this record was number 6 on that survey, and it's on Jerry Greenberg's Green Sea label. That is the first label. Also comes out on Co-op Records. It features Frank Ruggiero on lead. It's the second of 3 for this group called the Van Dykes on the Green Sea label. Our closer, believe it or not, is from May of 1966. It's called Rockabye Girl. And the Van Dykes on Green Sea, a tune called Rockabye Girl. That's going to do it for Johnny G and the Vinyl Treasure Show. Please tune in tomorrow evening for my buddy Dave the Rave and his Relics and Rarities show. Lots of cool 60s records, soul, garage, rock, cool tunes out of Dave. He plays originals like your host, Johnny G. Tune into all the shows here on Top Shelf Oldies. I'll be back next Saturday at 10 p.m. for my All 60s show. So I know a lot of you that likes the 50s and the early 60s, you do not tune into that show, but I get a different crowd too, and some that just like Johnny G anyway. Play some cool records out of his 60s collection, because I really have it all. I do. Anyway, I enjoy bringing the tunes from my collection every Saturday right here from 10 to midnight. Want to thank Charlene for all her help. Want everybody to have a safe and happy week. I'll see you here next Saturday on Top Shelf Oldies beginning at 10 p.m. for 2 hours of cool original vinyl 45s out of my collection. Just want to say, everybody, so long.
Wall.
Valentines.